So there's been a huge bit of breaking transfer news regarding Tottenham Hotspur. We all know this season has been quite torrid and a majority of our players have been missing through injury. Tottenham's defence has been a major issue and where most of the injuries have come from, and the player in particular being linked with a big move away from Tottenham Hotspur this summer is the one and only Cristian Romero. So today on the Sonny Talk Spurs YouTube channel, we're going to be talking through some transfers, and I'm going to suggest that I think Tottenham should sell Cristian Romero. But if you are new to the Sonny Talk Spurs YouTube channel, then drop us a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and let me know in the comments down below, would you sell Cristian Romero? Now, I know that's a very bold claim to make, but hear me out. Here are the reasons why I think Tottenham should sell Cristian Romero. But let's lay some context out first. So Cristian Romero has missed a massive majority of the season for Tottenham Hotspur through injury. Him alongside Mickey van der Ven, who are meant to be our two best defenders, centre-backs at the club, have not been part of the team, have they? They've actually missed quite a few games through injury. And Cristian Romero has become a very injury-prone player. We obviously signed him a few years back now from Atalanta, and he was, the best defender in Serie A at the time. Very impressive. We signed him for a very good fee, around that £40 million mark. But in the last few months, the player seems to be unsettled. He, seems to prefer playing for Argentina. He actually recently played nearly 94 minutes for Argentina against Brazil in a 4-1 win. It was at fault for one of the goals as well, which led to, I think, Matias Cunha scoring for the Brazilians. And, he was happy to win a World Cup. He's a World Cup winner. He's won the Copa America as well. So, he has shown the capabilities on the biggest stage. But when it comes to Tottenham, he is a polarising figure. I've heard some content creators in the Tottenham space call him our best player. I don't agree. I think actually Cristian Romero might be overrated.
We did touch on, again, how sloppy Romero was. Is that just rustiness? Some people I saw online were saying, oh no, we shouldn't be starting Romero. Well, how else? We've got to get them back in. We need to get them back in the side. They've got to play.
That's the thing. I'm not the professional footballer in the room, or former professional footballer, but I know there's a difference between fitness and match fitness.
Of course.
And he's not match fit at all. You can tell by those the decisions early on in that game, just as we were saying, play it long, that he's just got it in the corner, he doesn't know what to do, he's got the pressure of the pressing players, and he isn't doing any of the other players any favours, like Danzo, who, they haven't played together as a partnership. Vicario's just recently back as well. I mean, we're saying about match fitness, he's come back and been absolutely fantastic. Some of the saves he was making yesterday, kept it down to just 2. But I think with Romero, the problem is there's so much hype around it, and you mentioned it, like it's all like Argentina and being linked with Real Madrid. He's having a laugh if he thinks he could end up at Real Madrid.
I agree, totally agree with that.
Silly.
But he probably actually would go to Madrid and be really good because it's also who you're playing next to.
Yeah.
But I found it very telling that in his tweet post-match, he was thanking Argentina for helping him get back fit.
Says how bad our medical team is.
It does. Well, to be fair, when you've had 13, 14 injuries this season, and it's an ongoing thing, we've always had quite a busy medical room. But that's quite damning, isn't it, when you're saying basically the club staff in that medical team can't get you back, so you had to go back to Argentina to help yourself.
Yeah, and I think, as you said earlier, that he seems to appreciate Argentina more than Spurs at the moment.
I think he's good, but I don't think he's as good as some people suggest he is. And that's a massive hear me out. But I just think Cristian Romero, the injuries, the attitude, he's sort of fiery temperament. He sometimes can do one good thing and 2 bad things. We obviously know how he can be in tackles. He can sometimes be rash, but he can sometimes show that spirit that we, could really do with at Spurs. But he's got obviously a history of some red cards. Remember against Chelsea last season when we went down to like 9 men, I think it was, and the injuries in that game as well. But he is a polarising figure for Tottenham fans. I think he is the biggest, I'd say, to come when it comes to splitting opinions at Tottenham Hotspur. But I think, and you may have seen the transfer report, that Atletico Madrid are very much interested in signing Cristian Romero this summer. He's actually been linked to Real Madrid as well. But, I mean, Atletico Madrid sounds like the perfect fit. He sounds like Diego Simeone, fellow compatriot, would absolutely love him at the Wanda Metropolitano. Just sort of screams Atleti, doesn't he? You know, with that, you know, strong defensive style of football. And, you know, Cristian Romero, I will say Tottenham are a better team with Cristian Romero. He's good with the ball at his feet. He's good at passing and breaking the lines. But my opinion is, if the money is there, I think it makes perfect sense to sell. But this is the problem. If Cristian Romero does want to vie away with a move from the club, he is sort of not in the position to really broker this deal. He's got 3 odd years left on his contract. And Daniel Levy, I mean, knowing Daniel Levy quite well, will probably want to sell the player for a massive profit. He'd probably want a club record or a world record fee for a sale and for a defensive sale as well. You know, you've got to think Virgil van Dijk cost around 75 million, Josko Gvardiol around that mark as well. I think Daniel Levy would be wanting that sort of money for Cristian Romero, and I for one do not think he is worth that whatsoever. And I know I've said that Tottenham have suffered without him in the team, but I think, you know, if we were to get that sort of fee for him, we might as well reinvest it. You know, I think Mickey van der Ven is a better player than Cristian Romero. He's quicker, he's stronger, and I think he's got a good, you know, turn of pace in breaking down teams when it comes to, you know, how we play football at the moment. But Cristian Romero, I'm just not so sure. I've been, you know, a massive advocate, and I've praised him a lot. I think he has got, you know, so much potential to be an amazing centre-back, but I'm not seeing this world-class and sort of great status that some people have said, especially Tottenham fans. I think he, as I say, does polarise fans a lot, but I do think he is in that overrated category. You know, especially if Daniel Levy wants a fee, you know, higher than what we paid for him. I think, you know, he is worth what we paid for him. I don't think he's worth any more. But so if we are to get a fee like that for him, then I think that makes a lot of sense. And it is quite telling that when he did come back from injury, he didn't thank Tottenham's medical staff. He thanked Argentina's medical staff.
Bueno, por así decirlo, sí. No tuve buenos meses porque era una lesión que tenía que volver mucho antes y nada, se hizo todo muy complicado, como lo dije en la red. Siempre agradecido que el cuerpo médico de la selección me pudo sacar de ese mal momento y me pudo meter de nuevo en cancha, que es lo que me gusta hacer, lo que me hace feliz, estar adentro y nada, agradecido al oficio de acá de la selección que me volvieron a meter en cancha.
¿Cómo te gustan estos partidos? ¿Cómo le gusta a este equipo este tipo de partidos? Por ahí metido, con fiereza, aguerrido. Hoy estuviste a la altura después de tanto tiempo de inactividad.
Sabíamos que iba a ser un partido complicado, pero nada, creo que no nos hicieron daño y el segundo tiempo fuimos dueños del partido, manejamos el ritmo, lo jugamos como nosotros quisimos y nada, no llevamos una victoria importante y cada vez más cerca de nuestro.
So it really does pose the question whether, you know, where does Cristian Romero's future lie? And I said it on my recent tier list video. When it came to Cristian Romero, I'd ideally like to keep him, but if the right offer came in, I wouldn't sniff at it. I would really consider selling him this summer. He's a good sellable asset. I don't think it's sometimes bad to sell players, you know, when you're getting a good fee. Think of Kyle Walker a few years back. 50 million offer on the table for Manchester City. You've got to just snap their hand off for that. But, you know, that topic of Cristian Romero has been one that's been, you know, polarising fans for many years.
Simon, I got into a taxi last night. The taxi driver was at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Sunday. He was a Tottenham fan and he was still trying to come to terms with what he witnessed. Tottenham seemingly in the driving seat, and then Chelsea, of course, did a job on them and left with all 3 points. Speaking to Spanish outlet Telemundo, after the Chelsea defeat, Spurs defender Cristian Romero was asked, do you feel that while other teams have made a big investment, like Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester City, and continue to strengthen their squads to try and compete for titles, you have fallen behind in this regard? Well, he was interesting with his reply, Romero. The truth is, he says, I would say no comment, but City competes for the title every year. You see how Liverpool strengthens its squad. Chelsea strengthens its squad. Strengthens again. and now they are seeing results. In other words, we don't appear to be doing that. He says, hopefully they realise who the true responsible ones are, and we move forward, because it's a beautiful club, Tottenham, with the structure it has, but it could easily be competing for the title every year. I think he's pointing the finger, is he not, at the boardroom, where other boardrooms make the decision to strengthen. Romero's having a tilt at Daniel and the rest, saying they could do well to do the same.
Yeah, but, perhaps he should concentrate on what he's doing. And his performances, because whilst he's a very good player, he in previous times at Spurs, I don't think he's been at the optimum level of his game. At certain times, I thought he was dialing in performances. Listen, you would expect me to say this as a former owner. You're an employee, shut your trap, get on with your job. There's plenty of money being spent at Tottenham, but if I do that, I'm supporting Daniel Levy. If you want to win the league, if Tottenham's aim is to win the league, they've got to match Man City spend. They've got to match Liverpool spend. They've got to match Man United spend. That's not the ownership model that they have. They have an ownership model that spends lots of money, not as much as the people would like them to do, and not enough to win the league.
But who spended Leicester match when they did it? Albeit it was nothing we saw coming.
Yeah, so that's one team you can point to in 32 years of the Premier League. Other than that, every other Premier League has been pretty much bought by the team that's got the most money, from Jack Walker's to Manchester United to Chelsea to Manchester City. So Tottenham don't have that model, whether it was Alan Sugar that started the model in 1991 when the Premier League was just about to be founded, and he ran it in a certain way through to Daniel Levy. Tottenham doesn't have the economic returns or the economic investment strategy that Chelsea and Man City have had. Liverpool is a legacy football club, a heritage football club that's built itself out of many, many years of success. So there was an argument to say that should they do that? Yeah, that's not the ownership model they've got. And I'm not entirely sure that they're set up or expecting to win the Premier League. They certainly shouldn't be sitting with an empty trophy cabinet. They certainly shouldn't be sitting with 23 years of Daniel being in charge of Tottenham Hotspur with one League Cup. And they've got a lot of pressure coming on them for that, and Postecoglou. But I'm not entirely sure what he's blaming. He's basically blaming. So I'm assuming that getting beat by a promoted side like Ipswich and getting beaten by a completely out of sorted side like Crystal Palace is the responsibility of the boardroom.
Well, he says the finger, basically
that's the responsibility of the players.
But he's saying the finger's never really pointed at the boardroom, it's always pointed at them. He says it's always the same. It's first the players, then the coaching staff. It's always the same people that are seemingly responsible.
But that's not true. The finger is endlessly pointed at the boardroom.
I've got to say, quite a lot of Tottenham fans getting in touch on this very topic saying Romero needs to keep stum on this.
Well, he should do.
Eddie, the Tottenham fan, Liverpool haven't strengthened this year, so it's nonsense. Romero needs to stay with his man at the next corner kick, says Eddie, the Tottenham fan. Maybe Romero's just thinking, like, he's gone with it. No doubt he'll come back and tell us that the interview was a case of him being lost in translation.
Look, the responsibility for running a football club successfully is ultimately that of the owners. If you give people reasonable amounts of money, do I expect Tottenham Hotspur, with the money that they spend, to win the Premier League? No, because they've got to try and match those that are prepared to spend more money and have now got bigger turnovers and bigger sense of achievements. But do I expect Tottenham to have won something in that period of time? Absolutely. So I'm not entirely sure what point Romero thinks he's making. Tottenham are not set up the way Man City are. If they change the ownership model and they and do what Chelsea and Man City have done, which is spend inordinate amounts of money to be successful, there is an element of responsibility on the ownership. Of course there is. There's also an element of responsibility on the manager and the players. And so I think endlessly owners are pointed at. They're endlessly pointed at. So I don't know what the players are talking about.
Maybe Romero should have thought twice before he gave that interview to Telemundo.
So what you might be thinking is, Sonny, what happens to Tottenham's defence if we sell Cristian Romero? So we obviously have Mickey van der Ven. I think he's a competent enough player. We then have Radu Dragusin, who I think is a good player. I think maybe under a better coach, who isn't playing a stupid high line, I think he is a better player. We then have Luka Vuskovic and Ashley Phillips at the club, who, I think they should be given some more first-team opportunities next season. I know they're young, but, Ashley Phillips has been a constant starter for a Stoke City side in the Championship. Not been amazing, Stoke, but I still think that's good enough. Vuskovic as well. I did a video on him recently saying about his exploits in the Belgian Pro League. I think he's good enough. And then you have, Archie Gray could play at centre-back, and we'd still probably have Ben Davis considered. We might be moving on, we might not. but then there would be maybe some funds to free up. So then I think Tottenham, if they sell Cristian Romero, should sign Marc Guehi. We were obviously linked with Marc Guehi back in the January transfer window. There were apparently a couple of bids rejected for him. But I think if you're sort of selling Cristian Romero for that money, you might as well take that money and chuck it at Marc Guehi. Obviously 2 years younger than Cristian Romero. English international, so it's good for the homegrown quota. England international was amazing at the Euros. But the problem is, and we saw it with Newcastle United trying to sign Marc Guehi, quite a hefty fee for the player. And we all know Crystal Palace are a selling club, but Marc Guehi, will he be the top of their sale list this summer? It's hard to say. They sold Michael Elise last year, so they were not keen to sell more than one high-profile asset. And obviously, Wilf Zaha left recently as well. So it makes you think that would they want to get rid of Marc Guehi this year? There might not be a lot of sell-on value in Eze at the moment. Adam Wharton potentially could be sold by them. But I think Marc Guehi to Spurs makes a lot of sense. I think, he can play on the left-hand side as well, so that's good. He's good with the ball at his feet. He's been a Premier League captain at a very young age. I like the look of Marc Guehi. I think he could be a very good replacement for Cristian Romero. Like for like, you could say. Well, if not just like for like, he's got a better attitude as well. So that's quite good. And he would be a really good leader. So that's my thoughts on that. But I want to round up this video by talking about another piece of transfer news. Tyler Dibling. Now, I've done a video on Tyler Dibling to Tottenham. I think it makes a lot of sense. I like the idea of Tyler Dibling being linked with Spurs. He's also being linked with Manchester City. Now, when I did my video on him, the valuation was between the 35 to 50 million mark. And even at 50 million, I said, that's quite steep. But there's now reports coming out that Southampton want £100 million for Tyler Dibling. And that's just ridiculous. I understand a lot of selling clubs have their value for their players. Now, that's fair play. I don't, Southampton, they're in a very sad state. They're, could be and probably will be the worst Premier League team of all time. And they're known for selling. They're known for making a healthy profit on players. And this is a youth player, so it's 100% profit. But 100 million for Tyler Dibling? You've got to be foolish if you're paying that. Could be a generational talent. Like, we've seen Lamine Yamal, who is going to be, Ballon d'Or winner and a future star, or current star. But Tyler Dibling, have we seen enough to play 100 million? Absolutely not. It's absolutely balmy. So, yeah, just thought I'd give my opinion on that one. But, yeah, Tottenham, I'd like you to sign Tyler Dibling, but not for that much. But, yeah, that's my opinion on those transfers. So, let me know in the comments down below. Who do you want Tottenham to sign this summer? Let me know different positions and different players. Do you want to sell Romero? Do you want to sign Guehi? Do you want to sign Dibling? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And until next time, leave your like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you guys very soon. Ciao.